Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. The other day I made a video entitled Top 5 Wrestling Podcasts. Hopefully you guys were able to check that out. If you did, you saw that number one on my list was a podcast entitled Cheap Heat through ESPN in Grantland, hosted by David Shoemaker and Paul Rosenberg. Hopefully you guys did go check that out and give it a download. Today's show was really good. They talked over a whole bunch of topics. One of my favorite was them going over Saturday night's main event being added on to the WWE Network. I was able to check out one of those episodes last night and make a review on, I believe, episode 9, one of the biggest matches in the history of Saturday night's main event. Hulk Hogan versus Paul Orndorff in the steel cage match, with the match basically going into sudden death after both guys pretty much exited out of the cage and had a draw in the match. I thought that match was awesome. One of the coolest things I've ever seen. I begged the WWE, well, I don't really want anybody else to rip it off. I begged WWE to rip that off with the finish for a long time when they do steel cage matches. But basically, on that show, as they were wrapping it up, they had a discussion about worst Wrestlemania of all time. The moment with Wrestlemania where you were just ready to throw in the towel. Immediately, my mind went to WrestleMania 12. This was a weird time in wrestling. Basically, with the steroid trial of Vince McMahon, things were going down the tubes, and things were going down the tubes pretty fast around that time. And basically, Vince was trying anything he could when he found out that he wasn't going to be going to prison. There was a good little while when he was really just off in a different direction, and that's all he was really worried about. He was keeping the WWF alive, but you could definitely see that things were suffering in the WWF. And around this time, he was doing anything he could in the WWF to really get things down. Basically, wrestling as a whole really needed a real big kick in the pants. And, around this time, WWF had lost, big stars to WCW with the Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. And when things really come down to it, Macho Man and Hulk Hogan were wrestling for WCW, but, they weren't really on the upswing either. This pay-per-view happened in March of 1996. Basically, wrestling really wouldn't get that big kick in the pants for a few more months when WCW was able to turn Hulk Hogan heel with the Outsiders and do the whole NWO angle. One of the members who really got that wrestled his last match for the WWF on WrestleMania 12. That was Kevin Nash being Diesel. He wrestled a match against The Undertaker, which honestly, when it comes down to it, I do remember that feud. And that just makes this match a little bit better. The match on this show isn't that great. But, if you didn't live through watching those in-your-house pay-per-views with basically Undertaker screwing Diesel, Diesel screwing Undertaker out of the championship, I don't think when you watch this match at WrestleMania, you're really going to get that much out of it. I think that the Ultimate Warrior, when he came and did his comeback, and he defeated Triple H in under 2 minutes, to me, doesn't really have a whole lot of a feel. You don't really answer the story on where the Ultimate Warrior has been for the past few years. He had been missing ever since being basically suspended, let go, / fired, whatever you want to say it is. And we didn't get an answer. We know now from watching the WrestleMania documentary that Vince knew that wrestling needed a kick in the pants, and that was the one guy that he had that he could call and bring back, and maybe he would bring him back to the glory days of 1990. Maybe he would bring him back to the glory days of 1991. Maybe the fans needed that nostalgia effort to get there. But basically, with Warrior just being gone for so long, running down to the ring, sweeping up the mat with Hunter Hearst Helmsley, it doesn't really have any questions. If Warrior was gone for so long and came back and was in this perfect shape that he could beat, he wasn't the IC champion at this time, but I think he'd been IC champ. If he was able to do this, why was it that he was gone for so long? We needed answers to our questions, and we did not get them. One of the most memorable moments that comes down to it would be the Backlot Brawl, a match that almost really never happened. It wasn't until this year with the WrestleMania podcast that Renee Young was doing, where she interviewed Roddy Piper, that I ever got the backstory that this was actually supposed to be Goldust going up against Razor Ramon, sort of like to finish off the angle of Goldust kissing Razor Ramon and sending him the love letters and everything like that, where they were going to actually do the fight on tape from Miami and air it on this show, where they were able to capitalize on the O.J. Simpson. I was going to say trial, but the trial hadn't happened yet. But the O.J. Simpson sort of motorcade chase through Los Angeles with Roddy Piper driving the white Ford Bronco and just using the O.J. Simpson footage of the chase was honestly pretty brilliant. I thought that things that happened on the Backlot Brawl were really good. But in order to bring the match from the backlot all the way to bring it into the Anaheim Pond for the actual, I guess you can say, match that took down. That part was just horrible. I think it is, where you peel back the layers and you expose the character of Goldust, which would turn into the Goldust that we knew in the Attitude Era, with him always wearing the lingerie and him having Luna drag him around by the leash and chain. Maybe, they were starting to peel back that story, but just, to me, as a kid, Goldust, he was just a sick dude, and I didn't get him. I think that was a little bit more of an adult sort of a storyline for those people that were watching, but I just didn't get it. Steve Austin wrestles a match on this show against Savio Vega. He always says that Savio Vega was one of his better guys that got him into ring shape when he came back to the WWF after being out with his injury, when he was released from WCW, when he was doing the promos for ECW. It was really, working with Savio Vega and him really, pushing him to the limits that really got him into shape to where he was able to actually go. This match honestly does nothing for me. And then so many people are going to say, well, why are you not talking about the Iron Man match? This is like one of the matches that a lot of people say is one of the best wrestling matches of all time. The Iron Man match does nothing for me. I saw this one time when I was a kid, when I watched this on tape, and when that Bret and Shawn Michaels documentary came out, I watched it again one more time. This match does nothing. The first time you watch it, I can understand you being on the edge of your seat, like what is going to happen, who's going to be the champion. Both of these guys are fan favorites, so there was probably a little bit of everybody that was sitting on both sides of the fence, just saying, man, this match is really, really good. I can go either way. I'm sure there were some people who really wanted to be about Bret Hart because he had sort of always been the babyface since he went on a singles run. There was a time in the Hart Foundation when they were heels, but once he had gone on the straight and narrow and been a great Intercontinental Champion, he had been the WWF Champion. He was the first guy to ever go out there and beat Yokozuna and defeat him at WrestleMania 12 and sort of be able to. I'm sorry, this is WrestleMania 12. He was able to beat him at WrestleMania 10. And, sort of, support the USA chants that were going on, even though he was from Canada. I'm sure there were people that looked at Shawn Michaels like, this guy really is the future. He had sort of broken out of the Rockers. He'd done his whole little heel turn where he was running around with Sherry, which never really got to me either. As a kid, as I was sitting there, I hated Shawn Michaels, the boy toy. I didn't know what gay was as a kid. I just heard a lot of people say it. But to me, honestly, Shawn Michaels was gay when I was a kid. I did not get that. It didn't get better for Shawn as I was getting older and he was wearing the, sort of biker gloves and the that weird, stupid hat with the red rimmed sunglasses. The only thing worse than that was Doc Hendricks wearing this stuff, trying to promote it and sell it with the 1-800 number to call, WWF shop back in the day. Honestly, to me, though, this match, with it going an hour and not having any sort of pinfalls or submissions, there are some sort of near falls that go on along the way, but basically, once you learn something, once you've seen it, it's hard to forget what the outcome is going to be. Everybody knows that Shawn beats Bret in the sudden death of this. Why you go an hour and you go through the whole ordeal of having to get both of them back in the ring, because once it's done, Bret Hart, sort of hightails it back to the back. He didn't seem like a fighting champion to me at that point, even though I was sort of on Team Bret at this time. It was like, Bret had the 1 hour time limit come, and he was already almost to the curtain. He was almost in Gorilla when they told him to come back. I believe it was Gorilla Monsoon saying that he had to come back and restart the match. Why you would get him into the ring and only go under 2 minutes is a little weird to me. You would think that, you know, Bret Hart would, and Shawn himself, would be a little bit rested from the time that they spent, sort of sitting around, trying to figure out what was going to happen, that they were going to have a sudden death in order, because this is WrestleMania, and how in the world are you going to have WrestleMania and not have a champion crowned at the end? That's just to me. I can't sit through and watch this. I don't have, well, no, I apologize. I was going to say that I don't have an hour to waste. When I'm done with this, I'm probably going to turn on and watch another Saturday night's main event. But that's going to have maybe 4, maybe 5 matches along the way. I'm going to see some different people. It's not going to be 2 guys going in the ring for an hour and 2 minutes, and basically they're not going to do anything. I understand, when they talk about the Iron Man match on that Bret and Shawn sort of sit-down interview with Jim Ross, both of them really think the match is really special. They thought it was really cool that Bret was able to work this match out in the back, and they were going to be able to call spots. This is where we want to be at the 30-minute mark. This is where we want to be with 15 minutes. And they pointed out points when you could see Bret and Shawn, they sort of are wrestling, but they admire where they are on the clock, and they're always on pace on where Bret said they were going to be during this match. But this match really does nothing for me. This whole WrestleMania doesn't do anything for me. I just thank God that, I don't think I would be a wrestling fan today if it wasn't for what was going on in the other company a month down the road, with Scott Hall showing up on WCW Nitro, with him showing up with Diesel, I believe, 2 weeks later, and of course then building all the way to Bash at the Beach when they did the Outsiders versus Luger versus it was Luger, Sting, and Macho Man, with Hogan coming out at the end, and then just everybody just, what the fuck, Hulk Hogan has been our guy since WrestleMania 1, since before that when he won the championship, for so long we've had this guy as our babyface guy, and even though, fans were turning on him in his last days of WWF because he had been on top for so long, and they were just begging for anything, the Royal Rumble, that Ric Flair won, I think there are a lot of people were really clamming for Sid Vicious to win that Royal Rumble at that time, because they just wanted to see another guy on top, and it looked like Sid was going to be that babyface that came in to WWF to replace Hulk Hogan and sort of push him to the back and have somebody moving forward carrying the ball from there. Of course, other people along the way, like the Ultimate Warrior, they had tried that project and it didn't work for them, but this WrestleMania to me, always would be looked at as the worst WrestleMania of all time. I know, Rosenberg, you pointed out that WrestleMania 9 was one of your worst. I always tend to really like WrestleMania 9. It has a lot of screwjob finishes when you go back and watch it. Something about the ambiance, the atmosphere of everybody in the togas, everybody's having fun. That just seems like a wrestling crowd that I wish I would have been a part of. If I sat down right now, I would say that easily, if I had a time machine, the first place I would want to go to is any ECW show in the ECW arena. But I think if I had that time machine and I had unlimited usage, WrestleMania 9 in Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas would easily be one of the places I would like to go to. But I'll wrap this video up for today. Thank you, everybody. WrestleMania 12 in a nutshell, one of the worst WrestleManias of all time.